and welcome to episode 77 of Let's Run Facebook Ads, a podcast with myself, as usual, Nick Boddington. Hope everyone is well. Today we're going to be talking about a new demographic which will help the B2B marketing world no end. We've been waiting for this from Facebook for ages. So let's get into it and you can find out what it is. Hello and welcome everyone back to the 77th episode of Let's Run Facebook Ads. Today we're going to be talking about, this is specifically going out to people who advertise in the B2B world, services, anything like that, but basically you're not going to the consumer, you're going to another company and you're trying to put yourself across your services, trying to get leads, awareness, whatever it might be, hopefully leads and sales, whatever it might be. Up until now, it's been actually really quite tricky to try and get in front of the right person. And Facebook has made some changes to the demographics. So you might have been seeing the alerts. It may not have affected your ads, but there are alerts coming with Facebook on the top of pretty much every account that you're in on Ads Manager, where it's saying we are excluding quite a number of different audience that in interest that you're able to select on. We've seen that in our own ads, we're seeing it in clients' ads, and ads are having to be rebuilt because basically those audiences aren't in there anymore. And we've also found that with certain clients, we've had to really think outside the box, which is a really good exercise to actually try and find the audiences because they are basically no longer there, like holiday lettings and things like that. I think there's a few, but there's not a lot going on. So it's making us really have to think outside the box. And, by pressing the suggestions when you're in the interest area, putting something in there, finding something, holidays, for instance, and then seeing what suggestions come up from Facebook. But it's getting pretty low. That's why we are testing out a lot more on broad audiences where we're just putting age and location in, or even it's just, and letting Facebook decide. As long as you've got a pixel and you've set up your API properly in the gateway, things like that, Facebook's getting a lot of information from your website. So when you're putting the ad out there, leave it to Facebook. And we are testing this situation. It is working. So it's not to say that we're never going to be focusing on audiences anymore and interest and things like that, but it's to say always test going broad and see how that works compared. At the end of the day, it's not about what you can select on. It's essentially what's going to work best for your business, the lowest cost to advertise and gain the most revenue. That's what this is about. So don't get too stuck into, just because Facebook is saying something can be done, that you have to do it like that. Okay. But let's move on to the B2B stuff. So basically, we've got a few B2B clients and we're having to go down the interest route. We're going down job titles and things like that. And it's really quite hard and can get quite expensive on your CPMs when you're having to put these sort of selections in. But as of this beginning of this week, Facebook launched a load of new demographics. Now, when you may not have even looked at demographics before, because most people just go into the interest box. And where I'm talking about is in the ad set. So when you're building an ad, you've got the ad set area where I'm sure most of you understand this bit. This is where you're basically choosing your interests and stuff like that. Now, in that box that says choose your audience, you'll type it in, and that's where you'll type in holiday, and then you can press suggestions. But to the right of suggestions, you have browse. Now, if you click on that browse button, I'm going to do this as I go along. Sorry, there's not a YouTube video to follow it. It's just so I'm giving you the right information. When you click that browse button, 3 pop-ups come up, well, drop-downs come up. You have demographics, you have interests, and you have behaviors. Okay. The demographics one then breaks down into education, financial, life events, parents, relationship, and work. Now, education is their level, field of study, universities, upgrade. So great if you're trying to get in front of students and people who are at university and stuff like that. Financial isn't great for us because only in America does this work. It's household income, 10% was in percentages, but that only works in the States. So we never look at that because there's no point in the UK. Life events, anniversaries, things like that, date of birth, friends, new job, new relationship, newly engaged, that's been quite good. We've used that for like jewelry and weddings and stuff like that. Good field to look at. Parents, this is a good one. So you've got all parents, and you can split that down by things like preteens, preschoolers, teenagers. So if you're trying to get, we have a few clients who are always trying to get in front of that market. Now, the last one here, or relationship, as you know, that's like, people in a relationship status, divorced, domestic partnership, engaged, in relationship, married. So good things there. But the newest one, which always was on here, was work. And now work was employers. So you could click on employers and then you could type in the name of the employer and it would tell you how many people are associated to that business, or job titles. You could put in managing director and it'll bring up that. But there's a new one here, which is industries. And this one's really exciting. So anyone who does anything to do to B2B. Now, I'm going to read through these because obviously if you're listening to this podcast, you might be in the car or whatever, and then you can just see if it resonates with you. And there's probably 20 in here, so it's not going to take too long. So large business to business enterprise employees, 500 plus employees, administration services, architecture and engineering, arts, entertainment, sports and media, business decision makers, great one there. So there's 1.5 million there of them in the UK. We know there's more, but basically this is based off a demographic. And actually, before I go on, the demographic opposed to the interest is Facebook knows that you're in a relationship by your relationship status. So all the stuff that we give Facebook based on and the things that they see as a really high propensity that we'll be doing, and that's our career or whatever, that's what goes into the demographic. So demographic is a lot more accurate than just going for a general interest. So business decision makers, then we've got business and finance, business decision maker titles, cleaning and maintenance, community, computation and mathematics, construction, extraction, education, libraries, farming, food and restaurants. So if you want to get into the food and restaurants, that's what your product is, you can go straight into that. Government, employee level, healthcare, IT decision makers, always been a big one. IT and technical, installation, legal, life, physical and social sciences, management, great for B2B, medium business to business enterprises, employees, 200 to 500 employees. Again, another great one. Military, global, production, protective, sales, brilliant one. Small businesses, 10 to 200. Transport and moving and veterans, that's only for the US. Really, this is for us a big thing because we've got quite a few B2B clients that are based on interests, and basically over the next couple of weeks, we're going to start implementing the ads that they're already running, but starting to use these. And we're not going to start off at first by overlapping, narrowing down by, selecting multiple of these, because there's some really good audiences. I mean, I'm just going through them now. I'm seeing 8 millions, 5 million, 1 to 3 million, 7. There's some really good size audiences here. So I would actually build your ads by choosing, if it's business decision makers, choose that one. That's your audience. Okay. Call an ad set, give it 10, 15 pounds a day. Construction and extraction, that's your audience. I wouldn't start mixing the audiences at first. Keep them separate and see which ones work. But this is really, really good. It's big on the B2B side. I can't wait to start seeing. I'm praying that this sort of stuff works because it's been quite hard with them taking out a lot of the interest base. But Facebook, along with these other platforms, they are really trying to make all this work for us. So I hope that helps. The next podcast I'm going to do is with another update, which is called the API gateway. Now we've always had the conversions API since the last the iOS 14 update, which we're all bored of talking about. But since then, there was a way to set up your API conversion metric, which is basically server to server talking, opposed to just relying on the pixel. And it was really hard. You needed to really know what you're doing or get a techie involved and things like that. Facebook has just released over the last couple of weeks the gateway. And basically, this is where you can set up a free Amazon Web Services account, and you can make the servers talk, your server and Facebook server talk to each other, share that information going through Amazon. Not Amazon as you know it as a shopping website, but Amazon, which is actually a bigger company than Amazon as we know it, which is the web services side, which is all the techie stuff. But it's not techie, it's pretty easy. I'm going to do a video and a podcast next week, so you can listen to it on the podcast and you would actually be able to go onto YouTube, watch the video and see how it's done. Really simple, takes about 15 minutes. And that will help you with your conversions and your retargeting. I hope that helps. If you're into B2B, try this out and I'll see you on the next podcast.